Welcome back, everybody, to MaxsGarajMahal. Here's the old Raptor RSD60, which you've seen in many videos. We've discovered something that's we really would like to correct real quickly, and it's not a great big deal. It's just that we have one stick in reverse that doesn't want to self-correct. It'll self-correct up to a point and stops. It's got a lot of drag on it. Last night we lubricated the gas strut below the deck that helps these sticks from moving too quickly. Also makes them move a little more fluidly with a little bit of resistance other than just the hydraulic rods into the motor. So with that said, let me demonstrate real quickly. If you move them forward, they stay put where they belong, as you can see. And that sort of gives you a little bit of relief that you're basically your autopilot cruise control type thing, so that it, you can move a hand and still operate something. Basically, it's just where it's supposed to be. So that works perfectly. Now, if we bring this back to reverse, as you can see, it does not self-correct. Bring this one back to reverse. Not only does it self-correct, it does it very quietly. And we'll demonstrate this once again because it's still in reverse. Can you hear the squeak? We lubricated, as I said earlier, the strut and a couple of hand joints. So we're going to go underneath the mower and see if we can locate the squeak. It's going to be quite difficult with just myself. So I'll have to figure out some way to move this stick back and forth in order to be able to locate that squeak. So we'll try to find that for you, show you what we're doing to eliminate the squeak, eliminate the friction that's causing it not to self-correct. Wow, sounds great, doesn't it? Okay, so stick with me. I'll relocate the camera and get a few tools out here and some lights. We'll see if we can't get it where you can see what we're doing. Alrighty, we're going to try to get you down here a little more closely so that you can see the strut I'm talking about. And I left the plastic shopping bag down there in order to be able to capture the runoff oil that we put on the rods. So bear with me, we're doing this by hand. So getting you down here where you can see and still get some light on it with this portable LED light here. I'm not sure what we're going to find when we get down here with the camera lens. We'll see. So here we go. Now, if you notice the heim joints there, that goes back and forth. Let me see if I can figure out some way to hold this light where you can see. And this thing right here, this is linkage that operates the safety as well as the sticks. And right down below this, right down there, is that strut rod. Now, let me see if I can get the camera down a little bit lower. There it is, right back there. Okay, so I don't know if you could see that real well or not, but that's been lubricated, and we're going to go ahead and follow these rods out and get under the mower. Try to get you some photos down there. We may have to find a smaller camera in there with, but anyway, we'll be back here shortly. Here we are back, and we got the old RSD up in the air, as you can see here. Far enough that I've got my foot under it. That's not a good thing, so I'll move it back. And we'll try to get a little light on here. So hopefully this light's not too bright and blinding everyone here, so let's do it like that. Alright, what you're looking at right here is the mechanism lever mechanism that goes into the wheel motor. This is a Hydro Gear ZT2800. It is the centered bronze gears, or the centered gears. It's not the cut steel gears. Pretty good little unit though. You can change the oil and the, let's see if you see back there or not. There's the filter. You can change the filter and the fluid on this thing. And the fluid, by the way, on these ZT2800 and all these Hydro Gears happens to be just 20W50 weight oil, motor oil. It can be straight. Let me get my light back on where I see what you're seeing. It can be straight non-detergent, or it can be detergent oil. Either one doesn't really matter. It's better to put detergent in. I was in the oil business for 40 years, so detergent oil will help keep mechanical operations in business a lot longer. Okay, so here's where we're at. So you have a pivot point right there. You have a pivot point here that has some plastic bushings in there, and one on the front, one on the back. And we have something here that we like to use in situations like that. This doesn't set up and get hard. This is a, let me see if I can get the light a little bit better here. Alright, let me try this a little differently. Need 16 more hands here. Alright, let me get the light like this. That is, this particular brand is the WD-40. Hang on a second. WD-40, and it is a white, it's not a white lithium grease, it's just a lithium grease. And it stays very, very soft, very liquid, very fluid, so it doesn't get hard and set up and cause problems. Also, when you put this stuff on, one of the things you want to do here is you want to take just your good old trusty paper towel, and when you put it on, remove any excess at all. I mean, any you can find. I took a pocket knife and this paper towel. I went in behind everything and dried everything up on the outside that'll collect dirt and dust, clippings such as that, and debris. So get that real dry after you do that. Make everything move back and forth several times. Now, I've still got some stuff right here I left on here so you can get an idea what I'm talking about. Hopefully. This little camera doesn't have zoom. It's a little cheap action camera. It's one of those Hero knockoffs. And screen goes off about every 25 seconds, so I can't see what you're seeing. But anyway, I'm going to go in there and get any excess off both sides. I took a knife again and went down through there. So make sure that you remove any excess lubricants so that it doesn't capture any kind of debris, as I said just a few moments ago. So that's where we're at. Now let's test it and see if we have any improvement on the stick squeaking. And there's another place up here. I don't know if we can get to where you can see it or not, but hang on a second. Let me get this big boy off the ground. I'll be right back. Alrighty, getting off the ground, I sort of slammed the little camera into the ground. It survived for some reason, I don't know why. But here we go again. We're going to get right up here, and there is a pivot point. Now, let's see. Alright, let me move around here. Do you see that bolt head right down there? That bolt head is the bolt that goes through, I think you can see, right down inside that groove down there. You can see that white nylon bushing. That's the bushing that goes across that bolt and through this lever mechanism here. And there's also attached to the steering rod that goes to the rear. So let's do this real quick. And light doesn't want to cooperate, but that's life. Okay, so we're going to move this back. Look at that. She's trying to, even though it hasn't been operating much and the oil really hasn't gotten into its place, as you can see, the squeak is gone. It's trying to self-center, self-return, and that's proper. So after it's taken outdoors and moved around a little bit, the more I move this, the more it wants to return to home. So I'm going to call this mission accomplished, and that pretty much takes care of the squeak in the stiff stick. It's a lot lighter now than it was, so if we have to lubricate it one more time, that's no big deal. We'll just lubricate. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places that you want to lubricate, and it's pretty self-explanatory when you get under the mower and take a look. So that'll take care of that. Now let me switch cameras, and we'll just go ahead and go around this old mower, and we'll show you the things that we've done to it over the years, and some of the things we've done videos on, and refresh your memories. And anything you might want to see later in the future, just put it in the comments below, and we'll cover that if we can. So let me switch cameras. Alrighty, let's see here. To recap, some of the latest things are the LED lights here in front, and the switch here by the operator, of course. Really neat little setup. And of course, you can't forget the taillights back there. I don't know if you can see the reflection off the door, but we'll go back here shortly. And one must not forget I got really, really bright lights in here, so it's hard to see just how bright these things are, but these things like blind you. So we've got strobing lights for safety in the dark. Even in the daytime, people really have mentioned how great these things are, because they get your attention before this super bright yellow Hustler lawnmower. And if you can't see a 5-foot wide lawnmower, you probably don't need to be driving, to be honest with you. So with that said, we've got LED lights, front, rear, sides, 3 switches. We've got a new addition. I think this was 2017, so it's not new now. It was new to the machine because it's not a standard equipment. None of these things are standard equipment. These are modifications and upgrades that we've made. And one of the things here, I got this from a friend of mine, Mr. Doug Creamer, and he has his own video channel. However, he hasn't uploaded any videos yet, but I feel certain he probably will in the future. And this is a amp voltmeter, and it has 2 built-in USB ports. Really neat. I'll go around here in a moment after I highlight these things, and I will give you some close-ups of them so that you can get an idea of what we're doing. Now, the newest addition to the machine, besides the lubrication, that doesn't really count, is between 2 different dealers, or a dealer leaving the key on for 6 hours, causing the hour clock to have an additional 6 hours. Then we had a 20-hour addition sometime about, I guess, 8 weeks ago or so. So that the mower has 26.3 hours more on the clock than the actual mower. So what we want to do here is we want to replace the hour gauge, and we used a quartz hour gauge, and these are the things you see on bulldozers, and maybe, I'm not going to mention any different names. They may not appreciate that. But you see these on forklifts, all kinds of equipment, tractors, lawnmowers even, on some lawnmowers. They'll go up to, let's see, 10,000 hours, I think it is. Now it'll go up to 9,999 hours and 9/10 of a minute. So that's pretty good. When I got the hour gauge, it had 2/10 of a minute on it. So it really hasn't been operated at all since I put that on, except just to test it. It does operate, so that's important. This thing is huge compared to the factory. The factory is a little electronic unit, and this one is a quartz mechanical operation. So these things take a real beating, and you can flood them, put them underwater, all kinds of stuff. They'll work till you get them full of sediment. Great little addition. And although I'd have to run this for a while. I got to run it for 26.3 hours to make it come up to the, so that clock is correct. I'll replace the original clock back on it so that if I ever sell them more, or whoever inherits the thing, when somebody knocks me off, which probably won't be all that long down the road, they'll at least have accurate hour gauge on the machine. So, another addition. A lot of people have made fun about this this seatbelt edition. This seatbelt was for demonstration purposes only. It is not meant for you to put one on your machine. In fact, I don't recommend anyone do any of these modifications I've made. This is just for entertainment purposes only, testing purposes only. I do enjoy this, and I do use this every time I'm on this machine, and the reason for that is my property, even though it looks glass smooth, and this mower does an amazing job of making it look glass smooth, it is far from that. But this helps hold me back into the seat. I have 3 fractures in my back, and I've had since I got the first one at the age of 15 playing football, and the second and third came within the next, I think it was 6 or 7 years. So race cars off and on for years, motorcycles, lawnmowers, you name it, I've raced it, and trucks, and never gotten hurt in one of those things, or not severely, and got anything broken. And there is that light right on cue. I can have that light on all day long, guys, and it never goes off or flashes. As soon as I start video recording, I promise you it's going to do that. So this is not something you need to do. It's not something you have to do, not something you maybe even want to do. But it's very simple operation. 2 bolts, put it in. I lock nutted it, keep it at a certain tension so this can still operate and move freely. So there's your seat belt. And let's see, what else can you see at that camera angle? Oh, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see my laser? Probably can't. Okay. Let me give the camera a little freedom here, and we will continue recording as soon as I can walk the camera around. You can see some other things. Okay, here we go. Now then, let's see if you can see. This is a neat little tool. Let me see if you can see it here on the floor. Can you see that laser? Now, can you see the laser? Okay, now you can see the laser. Alrighty. That little laser will show you when you're overlapping your cut and how much. Pretty neat little deal, huh? Okay, so everybody, I think, that's ever watched my videos, you've seen the ventilated belt covers. Man, those things are fantastic. The suckers really clean out well, and with the air movement underneath the cover, it blows that grass right on out instead of making the circle back around the pulley, and it just comes right on out. Really nice. When we do the lights, be sure, guys, use grommets so that you don't harm your wiring. And let's see, what else do you have out here? We have one of the finest things I've ever done to this mower, and I really recommend this. And this is the high density polyethylene grass catcher scallop block off plate. Let's see, another thing we've done, I'll get down here and see if you can see it, is, see this cut right here? That is 5/8 of an inch, and let me see if I can get the blade around here. Alright, that blade is above this block, or this reinforcement. That throws that grass out wonderfully, guys. And with this block off thing here, plate, that's made out of high density polyethylene plastic, that sucker really does mow really nicely. It really evacuates great, and I recommend it to everyone. I'm not telling you need to do it, I'm not telling you to get one, I'm not telling you to even put one on. I'm just telling you my opinion. That is a wonderful addition to a Hustler Raptor or BigDog Alpha machine. Let's see. Now the flex forks. This is another thing I really recommend to people. These things really work great. They really soften the ride tremendously on these things. As well as these seat warehouse suspension kits right here. Let's see if I can get that where you can see this, where you can read that. That gives you a ride adjustment on these things. Man, you need one of those things. If you're screwed up in the body as I am, you really severely need one of those. Let's go under here. Mentioned the lights earlier. There they are. Those are little strobe lights, and if you notice, we've got a wiring harness on here, protective wiring harness, and we spent a great deal of time to make sure that wiring harness really does its job. And we routed the wiring harness down through the seat mechanism, and it's attached to the seat where it can't possibly get any harm done to it. And it comes out right down here through this slot for the adjustment on the seat. And by the way, I put a seat slider on the adjustable suspension seat. That allows you to move this back and forth without having to remove the nuts or loosen the nuts on these to move your seats. So you might want to do that. Another addition I just did, actually this is the newest addition. Took a piece of this real heavy plastic corrugated, well, this is really all this is just a piece of material that you run wiring and hoses through. And I placed it right down here over the original. There is a wiring harness down there people are aware of, probably that's seen the videos. And let me see if I can get you some more light here. Hang on, I'll be right back to get that light. Alright, let's see. I think you can see, I got my hand in your way again. I think you can see that thing right down the bottom, right between the battery and the fuel tank. Set that sucker right there. Get my hand in the strap out of your way. Let me get my pointer right down in here. And right there is that material that's covering up the wiring harness and a couple other additional wiring harnesses that's going through that to protect the wiring harness from this non-factory stand I made here for the fuse block. And the fuse block is another addition, as well as the relay wiring harness goes to the lights. This relay goes to this particular set of lights right there. And let me get around where you can see the dash panel with those lights on it. And that's the dash panel. Let me grab the key here. It's been a while since that key's been in and turned on, other than to test that new quartz. So there is the Doug Creamer inspired voltmeter that has 2 USB ports in it. Pretty neat, huh? And oh, by the way, and the quartz hour gauge. So let's see, we've got fuse panel for 6 circuits, 6 additional circuits. We're utilizing 3 at this time. I use 5 amp fuses in each one of those. Let's see, we've got the wiring harness that goes down to the lights at the front. It's all in protective harness covers. The fuel ventilation riser that brings the ventilation for the fuel up to this point, which is equal to the bottom of the fuel filter cap here. Not the fuel filter cap, but the fuel filter nozzle at the tank, same level. That allows you to fill this tank up to the bottom of the fuel filter neck. I do not recommend that. I'm telling you now, don't do this. Do not do this at home. So I only do it because that's what I want to do. I want that extra gallon of fuel so that I can mow longer. Now my yard doesn't require 3 gallons of fuel, doesn't require 4 for sure. But now I can mow 3 times without refilling, whereas I used to mow, I think it was 2 and a third time, seemed like. But anyway, I can get 4 mows out of it now without having to refill. Let's see, what else have we done? There are several other things. So I'm going to miss a bunch of them. One of the things here is the fuel shutoff valve for the fuel line. And that's a great addition. You don't have to do that, but it's not a bad addition. It costs you about $5-6, maybe 7, no big deal. We've added felt here between the spring and the frame that keeps the squeaks down. We've also added felt in front of the springs right here, as you can see, and that keeps the springs from wearing into the nylon fuel cell, which is something you might want to do. It certainly will save you some headaches and trouble down the road. And let's see, something we are in the planning mode of right now, and we haven't done it yet. We've had the parts for a while. There are some parts we don't have yet. Let me go up front here real quickly. Let's see. We put, and I left them, I did mine in a white. I normally would do them in yellow if I were doing yours. Did the white so you can see it better. Those are HDPE, high density polyethylene spacers that keeps this deck from moving back and forth so badly. It also helps keep from bending these lifts also, so that's something you might want to try. This is something that's on here, I put on before it ever left the dealership. It's not something you might want to do. It might be something you do want to do. It's never been hooked up, never been operated, and all it is a hydro deck cleaner. And what you do is you hook that to your garden hose, turn on your... Alright, here's something that you might be interested in, and that is this easy drain oil valve. It now that says straight hose end. That's actually this part right here that I've added to it, so I can add an additional hose. This will replace, and anyone that's got one of these BigDog Alphas or Hustler Raptors are aware of that monstrosity right down there made out of plastic. Not a good thing. It's and if you're not aware of the way that works, if you're just watching this video because you want to know something about these things, that's great. Let me get that light where you can see what I'm doing here. Now then, get the thing to focus. What you do is you put a hose on this and you run that hose out and below the mower down that way, and hopefully into a drain pan, otherwise you're going to get on your floor. Then you take a wrench and you loosen that little hex head right there, and that allows the oil to drain. What we're going to do is we're going to remove that factory plastic valve, drain valve, and we're going to replace it with this sucker right here. Isn't that pretty and shiny? And then all you have to do is you push down on this lever right here, turn it that way. That allows the oil to flow out, and it is not going to drain or come out by itself. And I'll try to hold this up where you can see it. It's got a positive lock here on it where this thing cannot move on its own. You have got to move that sucker. It is not going anywhere. And actually with one hand it can be done, but you got to really want to. There we go. So let me see if I got that camera. Oh man, that'll make a difference. Alright, there's that positive lock I was telling you about right there. So this is a really neat little trick that I think everyone might want to do. It's not at all inexpensive, but it is a good little trick. This will have the hose coming from this valve, and it'll come up, and there will be a home for it right here. It'll have a little catch right here that the hose will come up to and through and lock into place, and at the end of the hose there will be another little valve that seals the hose off so it doesn't get debris in it when you're operating. In order to change oil, just pull the hose out of that bracket, run it down through the frame into your bucket, open the valve, open this valve right here, and then the oil will be allowed to drain. When the oil is drained, you close this valve, and then you close off the valve that you've dropped down towards your bucket, bring it back up through, clean it up real well, put it back in the bracket, and that's where it'll live until you change oil again. So let's see, there are a few more things we've done to this thing. I'm not sure what all they are. The taillights. Here's the taillights. Just in case you hadn't seen those taillights, they are quite bright. And that's in the daytime. That's with a whole bunch of fluorescent daylight lights in here. So, and the switches are lit so that you can, or lighted if you prefer. And there are those little rascals. And of course, it has an amber. That means caution to me. And this blue, that just means headlights. Okay. So let's see, what else did we have? There's several other things. We're trying to keep the mower look as close to stock as possible, but at the same time make sure that we do the things that we feel like are improving the quality and the operator comfort and the operation quality of the machine. There are some things coming. I'm going to change this single barrel carburetor out to a 2-barrel carburetor for the larger engines, and that really won't hurt or gain anything. It'll gain about a horsepower, maybe 0.3 pound torque, or torque pound maybe. Not going to gain that much. It's just that I want to do that. At some point in time I'm going to put dual exhaust on this thing, and is that necessary? No. But I'm going to run dual exhaust and see if I can't gain another 0.3 foot-pound torque. And at some point in time, people keep talking about, they think they'd like to have chain lifts. So we're going to put chain lifts on this thing. My permanent lift operation is going to be heim joints at the bottom, hardened heim joints, stainless steel with 3/8 24 fine thread grade 8 bolts going down from the top. That will be my long-term addition for the mower. I'm also going to find some, those are 18-inch diameter tires, 18.5. I'm going to find someone that's got a set of 20-inch that I can borrow long enough to put on this thing and see if I can gain half-mile-an-hour ground speed. And if anybody in the Searcy, Arkansas area has a 4-bolt wheel with 20-inch tires on it that they don't mind loaning me for a few moments, I'd like to borrow those to to see if we can get any more ground speed out of this thing without making any other adjustments. At that point in time, we'll probably make some adjustments to the sticks to try to get all we can get out of these little ZT 2800s, and we'll bring some of these things to you as they come. So we want to thank you again for coming by and seeing MaxsGarajMahal, and we appreciate everything that y'all have done with us. The people that are buying these block off right here, I tell you what, hopefully someday somebody will put a comment under one of the videos and let us know what they think of them. I haven't shared any of the emails because I haven't quite honestly gotten any permission. Hopefully one of you guys will give me permission to do that. By the way, when we put this seat suspension in here, one thing I want to mention is the addition of this rubber hose. This is fuel hose is all this is, and we cut that, slid this in there, and that's to keep the wires from getting frayed by the metal. So that's another thing you might want to do. Always protect your wiring system. As you can see, this is just a homemade harness adapter that extends the harness. It's not as pretty as the factory, but hey, it works really well. It does the job. So again, thank you all for coming by MaxsGarajMahal. We appreciate it. We hope that you'll subscribe, share, hit that like button, that thumbs up, and by all means, hit that notification bell down in the bottom right corner next to the subscribe button. And y'all come back and see us now, you hear? here at Maxs's Garage Mahal.